I'll ask as we prepare for the sermon if we would sing together the sermon response, "Calm me, Lord," and make that your prayer as we go into this time. In the Oval Office sat a block of wood inscribed with these words, "Thy sea, O God, is so big, and my boat is so small." Kennedy loved this quote. It was given to him by an admiral, and this treasured block of wood now is kept in the JFK Presidential Library. The quote comes from a poem written by Winfred Garrison. "Thy sea, O God, is so great, my boat so small. It cannot be that any happy fate will me befall, save as thy goodness opens paths for me through the consuming vastness of the sea. Thy winds, O God, so strong, so slight my sail. How could I curb and bit them on the long and sultry trail unless thy love were mightier than the wrath of all the tempest that beset my path? Thy world, O God, so fierce, and I so frail. Yet, though its arrows threaten oft to pierce my fragile mail, cities of refuge rise where dangers cease. Sweet silences abound, and all is peace." The sea so great, my boat so small. We've all felt small at one time or another, haven't we? I don't mean the kind where you feel small because you're ashamed of something that you've done, or I've felt ashamed of something that I've done, but small in that sense that you get this glimpse that you and I are but small specks in this magnificent universe. Small in that we will never understand the mystery that is life. Small when we gaze up at the panoply of stars in the clear night sky. Small when we stand on the beach at Half Moon Bay and can barely see even the horizon over the ocean. Small when we experience staggering loss and feel powerless. Small when our identity, our conventional identity, is peeled away by some circumstance and the ground beneath us just begins to feel like it's falling away. The great poet Naomi Shihab Nye says, "Walk around like a leaf knowing you could tumble at any second." We've all had storms. They're inevitable. They're part of the weather system. And suffering and sorrow in our lives are inevitable. The Buddhists say that everyone has 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. And if you live long enough, you know that to be true. We have all probably had to reach the place, as much as we resist it, where we must admit that things are out of our control. That's why I love the first line of the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the courage to accept the things I cannot change. We've all, at one time or another, been tossed around on the sea of life. Seasick on the sea of life. It was just less than a year ago that I got quite seasick on a boat. And it is one of the most disorienting experiences that there is. You cannot find your equilibrium no matter what. If you haven't had that visceral experience lately, think about the last time you were on an airplane and you hit terrible turbulence. That feeling of being out of control. I think that's what the disciples faced in Mark's story today. They're tossed about on the sea. It's a great story. Perhaps it's a little difficult for our 21st century minds, but storms happen all the time. They traveled in boats often. But the question maybe is, did their teacher Jesus really still the waters? I don't know. Seemed to work for Kibbe, but but whether it happened that way or not probably isn't the best question. What can this story teach us? Because after all, when people read it, right after Mark wrote it, they were in despair. They were looking for hope. They needed terribly to hear the words, "Peace, be still." They say, "Let us go to the other side." So they took him with them in the boat just as he was. What does that mean? Just as he was. Hungry, exhausted, spent. Other boats were with them. They were not alone, and a great gale arose and waves began to beat the boat, swamping it. But he was asleep in the stern on a cushion. Who sleeps in a boat in a storm? The disciples were terrified. And their fear was not unfounded. People die in storms. They were, some of them, from fishing villages. They probably had lost a friend or even a family member. They were terrified. So they finally wake their teacher up. Don't you care that we're about to die? I mean, can you hear that? Certainly you've said that to someone who you don't feel cares about something at the moment. Don't you care that I'm suffering? He awakes and says, "Peace, be still," and the wind cease. Then there was a dead calm. "Have you still no faith?" he says. Then they began to whisper to each other, who is this? Who is this guy? We just woke up. In fact, one scholar says really the gutsy translation of Jesus' unrefined boat companions is, who the bleep is this? Who is this that even the wind and sea obey him? So what I wonder is how the disciples who were in the boat, and perhaps those other boats around, tell this story later on. As they're sitting around, once Jesus is probably asleep again, as they're sitting around drinking some wine, eating some hummus, how they tell the story. Days, weeks, years down the road. Can you believe that he was asleep? What's with that? Somebody else. I knew the sky didn't look right. Remember, I'm the one that said, don't get in the boat. Someone else. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid at all. I knew he'd fix it. And maybe then someone said, but do you remember what that calm felt like? It was surreal. I've never experienced anything like it before. How they remembered the story is as important as what happened. The same with us. How we tell the story, how we remember the story, says a lot about how we experienced it. Did the wind really stop? I don't know. Did their perception of the storm change? Absolutely. You know, we cannot control the storm. And we cannot usually hold at bay our suffering or our pain. But we can choose our reaction. We can choose our perspective. We can choose how we will ride out either the storm we're in, the storm we were in, or the storm we will be in. A couple months ago, someone came to me who had been diagnosed with very serious illness and was going to have to undergo treatment. Scary treatment. And before this person went into it, they talked to many people who had been through treatments like this before. It was clear what the side effects would be. It was clear that it would take weeks, months to recover. And yet this person came to my office and sat down, and this is what they said. I want to come out of this and through this a stronger, better person. How do I do that? Now that's a way to face a storm. In the midst of their fear, how can I use this experience to grow, to be better, to be the human being that I want to be? You know, it is true, beloved community, that just like joy and wonderful things, darkness and suffering have a rightful place at the table of life. It is what is. And how we respond to the storms in our life make all the difference. So fear is a natural response. Some will preach that if you have faith, you will not fear. I don't believe that. Fear is natural. If you're not afraid sometimes, you're not paying attention. But faith is moving through your fear. They woke him up, but maybe they could have awakened him far earlier. Are you with me? Because sometimes only when we get really desperate, then we begin to think about faith as a last resort. Faith is not living without fear. It is being willing to move through the fear to trust. Over and over and over again. I am not the only one in the room that has been paralyzed by fear. Paralyzed. So afraid I could not make my feet move. I had to move through that fear and not make fear my God. Faith is not giving fear power over our lives. It doesn't mean that we won't be afraid. Moving through your fear because we are not alone. Suffering can embitter us, or it can open us deeply to the suffering of others, and we get to choose. Someone has walked this journey before you and is walking it now. You are not alone. Other boats were with them. Other people are with you. Have to wait for a medical test? Have to wait for a doctor's appointment when you've received a diagnosis? Why? Because there's others in line, waiting in line, with the same storm that you're going through. You are not alone. You may feel like God is asleep and you're bailing out your boat on your own, but God is in the boat. God is in the sea. God is in the storm. I got an email from someone this week who is going through one of the most difficult things you could face. And this is what it said. I know that everything will be okay, though I'm not sure what okay looks like. Most surprising is that I do not feel like God is with me. I feel that God is in me. Oh God, thy sea so big, my boat so small. But friends, on the sea of life, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of disorientation, in the midst of fear, your oars are faith and hope. And God, however you name that, is in your boat. You are not alone. You are not alone. Amen.